Yo, what's up? Oh, this is a very special video thanks to one of my subscribers who asked me to cover this topic, and it's the 8 signs she's a hoe. All right, man, let's get into this. But first, if you're new to my channel, welcome. My name is Kane. I'm the Silver Bachelor. This channel is 100% dedicated to dating advice for older guys. And if you're new to my channel, please subscribe, hit that notification button because I'm dropping a video every day. All right, 8 signs she's a hoe. And I'm going to give you some context on the initial request that I got. So the initial request was on, hey, it'd be awesome if you do a video on what's been trending now, and that is with people, men specifically, preferring a woman with a low body count. All right. And then the term 304 came up. So I'll go into that. But first, if you haven't heard of the term 304, you're probably wondering, okay, well, what is 304, right? So the camera might be showing this and mirroring it. But if you write 304 down, right, like I just did, so 304, and you flip it upside down, what does it spell? Ho! Ha ha! Yeah! So that's where the term 304 came from, right? So the whole low body count thing, right? It's become a lot more popular with the Whatever podcast, if you haven't seen that, the Fresh and Fit podcast. So these guys basically, especially the Whatever podcast, they interview OnlyFans models pretty much. They have a round table of these women and they have these discussions. They bring them on the show. And so, of course, these women have high body counts. And I want to ask you guys for your input. Please drop a comment on what do you think is a high body count for a woman to have when you meet her, right? Regardless of age, whatever the situation is, right? What do you think is a high body count? Because we all have our differences in opinions, right? Some men will say, nope, heck no, not going to date somebody based on this high body count. Others might not date someone based on their profession. So obviously, somebody, well, not necessarily. I was going to say that obviously somebody who has with an OnlyFans account has a high body count. I say not necessarily because what if they're doing OnlyFans with their partner, right? That's different. I mean, obviously, if they're doing OnlyFans and have multiple dudes, they have a high body count. But drop a comment, let me know what you think, right, is a high body count. So you're on this date with a woman, you start, getting to know her. Maybe it's not the first date, it's the second date, and you eventually ask her, how many partners have you been with, right? That's what I want to know from you guys. What do you think is too high? 5, 10, 25, 50, 100, right? Right? So, all right, man. So the 8 signs she's a hoe, and I'm going to share this based on my experience. So, but before I tell you the 8 signs, right? We all have a background. We all have a backstory, all right? I like to consider myself as somebody who's pretty forgiving. And when I meet somebody, I'm meeting that person based on who they are now and not who they were in the past. Yes, what they experienced in the past is a predictor of behaviors, mostly of the future, okay? But if they said, look, I went through this hoe phase, and I realized like that's not a lifestyle I want to live, I'm not really going to hold that against her, but it depends on what she means by hoe phase. So this is a great segue into the topic. All right, the 8 signs she's a hoe, and like I said, based on my experience and what I've come across. Okay, so if you see me looking down, it's because I've got a bunch of notes for all of you, and I just want to share all the things that I've experienced. Okay, so no particular order, but number 1, if I go to her Instagram page, all right. So the first 2 is about Instagram. The number 1 thing, if I go to her Instagram page and I see nothing but sexy pictures. When I say sexy, I'm talking like raunchy, where they've got their ass right in front of the camera. and their tits are right out in front. Pictures like that, like, yeah, not there's one thing that'd be sexy and tasteful, but another thing where it's like just raunchy. Okay. Now, a little side note on that. If I go to her account and there's nothing but pictures of just her, like her basically taking selfies, that means she's very narcissistic. Doesn't necessarily mean she's a hoe, but it's a red flag to me. So the hoe, number one, is she's got these raunchy, sexy pictures on her Instagram, a lot of them. Number two, she brags about a luxury lifestyle, right? And you see her pictures, you see a lot of pictures of her on a plane, like a luxury plane, a luxury yacht. That chick, I'm sorry, I don't care who is watching this, because that's been my experience. If that chick, that's the circle that she's going around, she's a fucking hoe. So I watch out for that too on their Instagram. Like what kind of scene are they into? Okay. I won't really go into career professions because it hasn't been my case. I'll just throw this as like a bonus point before I get into number three. As a bonus point, just as a yellow flag, career choices. If she's a flight attendant, and I'm sorry to those viewers that are flight attendants, it's just flight attendants are typically known for being more sexually active. Okay, flight attendants and nurses. I have dated both. They weren't necessarily sexually active, and I wouldn't say they were a hoe, but some people would say, hey, stay away from those professions. So I'm just kind of throwing that out there to see what you guys think. And drop a comment if you've dated flight attendants and nurses, because I want to hear your point of view on that one. Okay, so number three, her dating bio. So in her bio, she keeps bragging about all these countries that she's gone to. That is also a tell sign she's a hoe, because she's hooking up with dudes all around the world, and there's no consequence, right? It's very not transactional, but she's only there for a week. She wants to have some fun, and she is definitely hooking up with people. And that's been my experience, and that's what a lot of other dudes are talking about. Okay. So number four, this is probably the number one, but like I said, no particular order. Number four, she lies about how many partners she's had. The rule of thumb is this: in most cases, not all cases, in most cases, when someone puts a number out there, double it. Right? They say, I've been with like 20 partners. Yeah, right. It's probably more like 40 in most cases. So if you think she's lying about her partners, oh, she's definitely a hoe. All right, number five. Obviously, if she does OnlyFans. Now, that's most of the cases. I would say 90% of the women that have an OnlyFans account are a fucking hoe. So it's up to you, man, if you want to get involved with that. I'm going to throw a couple interesting ones here. So number six is she's a sugar baby, and she's been doing that for quite a while. That's been my experience. I'll do a topic specifically on sugar babies, but most are hoes. Number seven, obviously, if she's a stripper. Now, I'm grouping strippers all in, I'm talking mostly, most strippers are hoes because that's the lifestyle. How could they not be? All right, last one is a little controversial, but I'm just going to put it out there for you guys to research it on your own. This has been my experience, not that they're hoes, but women that have tattoos, like a lot, and women that have a lot of piercings tend to be more sexually active. They're rebellious. And don't even take my word for it. You can research the psychology behind this. Women that do have a lot of tattoos, and they have a lot of piercings, they're rebelling. So if they're rebelling, that means they want to be free. They don't want to be judged. I get it. But they're also more sexually active, has been my experience. So I don't mind dating somebody with tattoos, piercings, and it depends on the piercings. But in general, I know right away they're going to be more sexually active. So I approach that yield sign, right? I approach it carefully. So drop a comment below on if you've dated nurses, if you've dated flight attendants, And if you've dated people with tattoos, piercings, and were they hoes? Right? So I want to hear about this, man. All right. I hope you enjoyed this video, and we'll see you next time.